listening to the Sticks in the Six podcast. Here are your co-hosts, Andrew Forbes, Peter Barricini, and Alex Hobson.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 136 of Sticks in the Six. Here with my co-hosts, Peter and Alex. I'm Andrew, and testing a little something out there with the intro, boys, but it's still a work in progress. Lots to talk about. We're going to try and keep this short. We do have, if you haven't already tuned in on our YouTube channel to the Michael Telkvist interview, it will be on our streams, Spotify, all that kind of stuff during this episode, so we will get to that in a little bit. But before we do all that, Alex, how you doing this week, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Bit of a busy week back at work, and I have something to talk about, but I feel like it's going to take up 5-10 minutes if I do. So
I say go for it. Go for it.
Cole's Notes?
I'll try and keep this to a Cole's Notes version. I'm doing something kind of insane with the rock station that I work next to. So those that don't know, I produce a morning show for a talk radio station in Niagara, literally right next door to us, like studio door to studio door, is the rock station, 97.7 Hits FM. And a couple weeks ago, actually it was more like a month and a bit ago, before I left for Europe, they called me in and they're like, "Hey, we want to do a radio version of The Bachelor. Do you want to be our subject?"
Oh,
so
wow.
So the seed's been planted. They put out and they made me write up a bio, like a Tinder bio almost, and throw a couple pictures up. And it was up on the website all last week. They took applicants, which I was not optimistic about that because I have no idea how many early 20-year-old girls listen to the radio, especially rock radio. But they found 3 girls and they've set up 3 dates with me next week. And at the end of it, I've got to go on the air and pick one of them to give the rose.
No way.
My God.
Dude, like there's one part of me that's like, this is kind of a dream scenario because I have some of the worst game in the world. I'm just going to be flat out honest. And this is like, it's almost like they've taken this and they're like, all right, we're going to be a team of wingmen to help you out with this.
Yo.
So they've set up the dates. They're all paid for. And the part that scares the shit out of me is that after every date, both me and the girl that I'm going out with have to call into, they do this little segment called The Machine, where you basically, people can call this number and leave messages and they play them on the air. Me and this girl after each date are supposed to call the machine and leave a message about how it went, and they're going to play it. So I have zero margin to error for this. Zero margin for error, I should say. If I make one mistake, boys, the entire Niagara region is going to hear about it. So please wish me luck. You asked me a couple months ago if I ever thought I'd be literally putting my dating life on the radio. I would have said, leave me the fuck out of that. But they have a way with words. They got me into it. So here I am.
I think you got to play it safe. You got to play it real safe.
I'm playing it so safe, man. You have no idea. Also, you have no idea. I don't know. I don't know any of the girls. Like I talked to 2 of them today, which was almost more terrifying than actually going on the dates. This is the first time I was talking, and they're gonna put it on the air tomorrow. But I'm playing it safe. I'm not gonna try anything stupid. I'm gonna be myself, but I'm not going to try and do anything crazy to impress or anything because I don't need the entire Golden Horseshoe knowing about my dating flaws.
That's all you could do, man. Just be you. That's it.
Hey, Alex, what I'm going to do. After talking to 2 of the girls today, you actually only have 1 date left, so it's a do or die here.
Do or die.
Oh, man. Yeah, both of them are going to drop out before next week.
Now I have a reason to go back and listen to the radio now.
Brutal.
Yeah. So, and even after, I know, I bet of all the things you guys thought I was going to say, probably wasn't that it.
No, but I
probably at the bottom of the list.
Some great content for sure.
You know what? It's good content, and it's just
fun.
When we do this little banter thing at the start, I was originally just going to be like, no, I'm not going to get into this, but that has literally been taking up 90% of the space in my head for the past week. So there wasn't really a way around it. I had to bring it up.
You have to.
So
absolutely. Well, from the Bachelor over to Peter. Peter, how you doing, buddy?
I don't know if I can.
I feel like I set the bar high for you every week, Peter.
Oh yeah, you always do. You always do. I live a very boring life.
It's not even that, man. I feel like just if you put you and I next to each other, like we're like Jerry Seinfeld and George Costanza. Like,
Yeah.
Jerry's subplot is always, oh, my girlfriend's a soft talker. George is always, I have to sneak into my roommate's house and delete, or I have to sneak into my girlfriend's house and delete the voicemail I left for her. Right? Like, we have very different subplots after every week. But anyways, get after it.
Yeah. I mean, like, how can I top that? Really? I really can't. I mean, I did go, okay, well, it kind of sounds boring. I went shopping today, but I managed to, like, because I have like 2 like kind of like suit jackets or whatever, and I needed to find a new match. And boys, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to probably have to start wearing suits more often because I don't want to like build myself up, but I look damn good in them.
We love some self-confidence and body positivity.
Yeah, I don't have any, so you take it all.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I got a gray and I got a blue one, and I'm just gonna say, like, if I wear a blue one out on the streets, people are gonna think I'm like a celebrity or something. And I'm probably I probably setting myself up too high there, but yeah, that's the first time I ever like tried anything on it. I'm like, damn.
Are we talking like navy blue? Or are we talking like Dumb and Dumber blue?
Oh no! Not even close to Harry Dumb and Dumber.
I really wish it was Dumb and Dumber blue. That would have been.
I don't know. I think I could pull off the like highlighter orange more than the highlighter or baby blue.
Too. I think you could too.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to put that out there. What would I look better, like highlighter orange or the blue?
I'm team.
But then again, I if you were to probably pay me to wear that one night, I probably would.
Of course.
There you go.
It's an iconic suit.
Absolutely.
Get a top hat and a cane, you know?
Yeah. Well, boys, like we said off the top of the show, lots to talk about. We're getting close into the season now. Preseason's just around the corner. We're kicking off season 4 of Sticks in the Six, which seems wild to talk about, but this is the first year we've gone, end to end, 365 days of Sticks in the Six, and this is our first episode of season 4. So pretty exciting for us. But you guys don't want to hear about that. You want to hear more about our takes on the Leafs and what they're going through. So let's kick it off with a little bit of rookie camp talk. Peter, takeaways from rookie camp. Who's the standouts? Who's cracking this team maybe later in this season? What are we looking at here?
Oh man. So yeah, if you've checked out the Hockey Writers, I did come out with a top 5, top 5 performers, and obviously, like everyone, like we already know Matthew Knies is Matthew Knies. He stood out with his strength, his puck protection, his play down low, cutting to the middle. He was fantastic. But man, I'm gonna tell you, Easton Cowan right now, just absolutely off the charts. Like I mean, it was kind of difficult watching that first game because the stream ended and we really didn't have anything, but he just dominated the Dallas Stars. And the Dallas Stars have Maverick Bourque, Logan Stankoven. They got a decent prospect pool. Cowan comes in, he dominates the Detroit Red Wings as well. And man, he's just all over the place. Dude has an engine that just doesn't stop. And I know we talked about this previously before, about what the expectations are. And I believe it was Kyle Grimard that we have on, correct?
Mm-hmm.
From the London Knights, and we talked about him, and we talked about how well his progression is going to be, and we're already seeing that right now. He was fantastic. I have no complaints about his game. I think he's going, confidence is sky high heading into this camp and even heading back to London. Big fan of Dennis Hildeby. Forbes, you talk about having goaltending from within the system. I think he looked very spot on. Could work on his lateral movements a bit, but I thought he was very confident in finding the puck. He had good poise, didn't panic as often. But I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to pump my own tires for this one. Brandon Lazowski. I mean, I've had this guy as an underrated pick for the prospect for the Maple Leaf system for some time, and man, he wowed me even more this time around. He's small, but he has good lower body strength to hold up against tougher competition. Shots off the chart. I mean, he had great creativity when he was on that third line, I believe, and just absolutely stood out for me in a positive way. I think those were I have more standout performers from that tournament, but those are the ones that constantly caught my eye consistently.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, Hildeby's a big fucking dude, right? Like,
6'7",
I think he came in.
Yeah, 6'6", 6'7", 234 pounds or something like that.
So when you have that size, especially in today's game, like your lateral movement doesn't have to be as impeccable as it once was. But I mean, he definitely, I like that they gave him that second game and we got to see a little bit more from him. And I think right now the Leafs goaltending is is what they need in their prospects. You got Akhtiamov, who obviously wasn't there, but you've got Peksa and you've got Hildeby as well, and even what is it, Kavlin?
Luke
Yeah.
Kavlin?
Yeah, he like
Cavallini?
Is it Cavallini?
No, it's just Kavlin.
Yeah, okay.
Kavlin. Thinking of something else.
I pronounce it right once, and Peter's got me thinking of something else here. But
I'm usually the one that's right with that.
Yeah, that's right. And he's another option as well, deeper into that prospect pool. So it's definitely good to see some goaltending prospects come up through the system. But Alex, any standouts for you at the rookie camp? Anybody that kind of disappointed? Maybe you'd like to see a little bit more of.
So I can't really comment too much on this because I missed every single prospect game, which really sucks because I wanted to watch all three. And I actually told myself earlier that week I was going to watch all three, but then life got in the way and it just didn't happen. So I'm not really going to speak on who I thought played well because frankly, I didn't watch the games. I can't really, I'm going to be talking out of my ass. So overall, like from what I saw, and shout out Kyle Cushman for supplying everyone with the leaders in the point categories. Just to piggyback off of what Peter said, man, Easton Cowan's just been everywhere.
Yeah.
Like talk about a guy who came into training camp with a whole bunch of people thinking that, he's a reach. He's going to be a bust because he was ranked in the 3rd round. Talk about a guy coming in and just proving all the doubters wrong. Right. And obviously, you're not going to use one rookie camp as full fodder for proving the doubters wrong. But at the same time, it's nice to see a guy like that come in and dominate when he very easily could have done cardio and just kind of blended in with the crowd. So good. It was encouraging to see Easton Cowan on the score sheet a bunch. Hildeby, obviously, I've been a big fan of Hildeby. I was a fan of him right from the moment they drafted him. And obviously, watching Matthew Nyes out there compared to last year, this is a guy who's going to play in the NHL all year this year, and I think he's got a real shot at 20 goals. So I thought it was a decent tournament overall from what I saw on the stat sheet, but I didn't actually watch anything. So that is the end of my analysis.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first. Matthew Nyes, 20 goals. I think I made the worst prediction last year, so we'll see how yours turns out this year, Alex. But I got another one for you. I put this in my one of my prospect articles, and I said that Easton Cowan's going to hit the century mark in the OHL, and I think going back, he's going back to London right now. He's set for the second line with Denver Barkey and Kasper Halttunen. I called Halttunen at the combine. I said he was going to probably end up in North America. He wouldn't give me much of an answer, but he gave me a little smirk. So I knew right then and there, the outside insider was back making the call that Halttunen was going to be a Knight this season. And I think like just from him, he's a big body. He loves to score goals. He loves to be a net front presence. I think playing on a line with him and the way that Easton Cowan sees the game, I mean, this kid's going to dominate the NHL this year the OHL this year. And I'd be shocked if he doesn't hit that century mark.
Could you imagine if he dominated the NHL this year?
Make
a team out of camp, drops 80 points in his first year.
How mad would every fan of every NHL team be if that ever happened?
That'd be funny.
If he if he made the team out of camp, I'd put 20 on him to win the Calder.
That's a good bet. Interesting. Could you imagine?
That'd be wild.
You would be able to single hand from the odds of not only Easton Cowan being a contender for the Calder, but for beating out Bedard. You put $20 on that, dude. You'd be able to fund us an in-person studio.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, listen to this. I'm regretting a bet I made already. I put an under on Bedard's points this year.
Ooh.
At 67.5, and like seeing him play in that prospect tournament, I'm easily regretting that already.
Yeah. I think under 80 might be a safe bet, but I wouldn't do under 67.5. I think he's going to clear that.
Yeah.
One more point on Cowan. Mom spaghetti and chocolate milk. That's the breakfast of NHLers, or dinner of NHLers right there.
Mom spaghetti
doesn't get any better.
Oh gosh. Anyways, boys, training camp opens up this week. We've seen some media availability from some of these players. A lot being said, a lot being talked about, a lot of questions about a topic we'll get to in a little bit with Mike Babcock. But lots to say about the piss and vinegar that they added with Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi talked about he was asked about at I believe it was a golf tournament. He said, I haven't even played one game yet, but there's discussion about like whether he could sign a long-term deal. Max Domi says he wants to not only be a Leaf, but he wants to win the cup with the Leafs, knock two things off his bucket list. And then obviously Revo being asked about the Gudis yell in Wall's face at the end of round 2 last year. And he with a smirk on his face, he says he's ready to go if that happens again. So training camp, what are you looking for, Alex, out of these guys, and any surprises that you think we might see?
So I don't know if you guys saw the tweet that Luke Fox put out today, and it was hilarious because I quoted it and I dropped some analysis on it, and then I realized I'm literally doing this over an insider's speculation of what the lineup might look like before the team has even taken the ice for training camp. I might have a problem, but anyways,
don't we all?
Yeah,
don't we all? Yes, that's right.
So I look at I was looking at this lineup that he put out. And at first I was shocked. Yeah. And I'm going to stop teasing it. He had the top 9 as follows: Bertuzzi, Matthews, Marner, first line, which I think everyone's expecting to see. Second line of Matthew Nyes, John Tavares, Sam Lafferty. Third line of Max Domi, William Nylander, Kalle Järnkrok. And I know everybody's gut reaction at first is going to see Sam Lafferty on that second line and be like, dude, this is a dude who had 6 points in his last little stretch of the season with the Leafs. Couldn't stay in the lineup. He was bounced up and down between the third line, fourth line, and even the bench. I wouldn't be shocked if that was actually a possibility to start the year, because it sounds like that they're taking the concept of putting Nylander at center pretty seriously. And if they follow through with that, John Tavares has literally spent the better part of his career playing alongside guys who aren't really known for their offense. Remember in Long Island, a lot of the time his 2 wingers were Josh Bailey and Matt Molson. And he led those guys to some pretty decent seasons. And I'm not saying it was all because of him, but obviously playing with John Tavares has to play a part in that. So obviously right off the hop, I was a little confused by that. But the more I think about it, Sam Lafferty on John Tavares' wing, you send him to the net, you utilize that speed. I think he had like 10 goals or 12 goals last year or something like that. You put him alongside Tavares for almost a full season, he could get 20 goals. 15 to 20 goals. You utilize him as like your net front guy. And you know what? That's what I like about this year's lineup so much, is there's so much to look forward to, and there's so many combinations and options available. They overhauled almost their entire depth chart outside of the core. And, like between power play, the special teams, and what you're getting out of them just from their offensive core, I think that there's lots of options here this year. And to answer your question, Andrew, I think that that's going to be the main thing that I'm looking at when we get into training camp here. I'm going to be looking to see what kind of combinations Keefe experiments with. And there's not really any massive battles to make the lineup. I know normally that's something that you might look at and be like, oh, look for this guy to make a serious push to crack the roster or whatever. I think the only person we're really looking at for something like that is Noah Gregor. Signed a PTO. He could be a guy that signs a 1-year deal like Aston Reese last year that joins a 4th line role. But everything else seems to be like, there seems to be a good idea of where everyone's going to be playing this year. And at the same time, there's all sorts of combinations in the air. We really have no idea what's going to happen. So I'm just going to be keeping an eye on what Sheldon Keefe does from game to game, who gets cut. And if he sticks to this whole thing of, Tavares having a bit less on his wings and then stacking up that third line, because you put Järnkrok as the primary goal scorer on that third line. Nylander and Max Domi are both great passers. I mean, there's lots of options here. So that's where I'm going to stay right now. I that's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Just what they make of all the options.
Peter, what are you looking for out of camp here, buddy?
I mean, I just want to see how well that new added attribute of the snot piss and vinegar does. I mean, it was the big talking point throughout the whole entire season. It was players that they brought in of a characteristic that they lacked for some time. I mean, they tried to get physical with, bringing in Luke Shen or whatever. Like, yeah, he was great at times, but, he lets in. It wasn't worth keeping him in on that salary. And same with, Noel Chari as well, although I think it would have been feasible to keep him into the fold as well. So, yeah, the main additions, and see how well that is going to work, because you already heard Mitch Marner talk about that added attribute and how the guys are very vocal and energetic in the locker room already. And if they're having that presence right now, I think that's something that could go a very long way for a team that's, they had some highs winning their first series, but they lacked that same energy that Florida had. And they brought in players that could do just that with Bertuzzi, with Domi. Now, are they going to produce as much as, let's say, a Matthew Tkachuk? Probably not. But that in-your-face mentality that, not letting your skill dictate the pace of the game, but more so being in on the forecheck, being physical, and being heavy on the attack. I think that's something that could work in favor for the Maple Leafs. How they're going to adapt to that is going to be very, very big. And also the second defensive pairing that was occupied by Justin Hall. What is going to happen there? Because kind of like the forwards with the different combinations that you have right now, you have different combinations, but what's going to be the best fit? You're probably looking at Riley and Brody as going back to that top pair again. Brody kind of had an up and down season last year, but hopefully he turns it back around. You have Jake Muzzin on the left side, who's going to be on that right now.
Jake McCabe, you mean?
What did I say?
Jake Muzzin.
Yeah,
I was just thinking, I don't think Jake Muzzin's going to be playing.
Yeah, he definitely is not playing this year. Thank you.
No problem.
There
Happens.
we go. Let's just scratch that, reverse it. Yeah, so Jake McCabe on the left side. There we go. Got it. And what's going to happen on that right side right now? Is Timothy Liljegren going to be ready for a full-time spot in the top four? John Klingberg, I believe he's a left-hand shot. What's going to happen there? McCabe can play on the right side. So if you put Klingberg on the left and McCabe on the right, possibly, and then you have that Giordano Liljegren combination that we've seen them, mesh very well together in the past. So it's good to see. To me, I'm hoping that Liljegren can take that spot, because I've been a big proponent or a big fan of his game. And he seemed to be getting better each season. I think last year was a little bit rough because when the trade deadline happened, he had to get pushed down because of the depth that they had. But I do think that if he's confident coming in, and I think that I saw a few photos of him training on a bike and, working on his legs. If he's able to build up more speed, build up more strength, I think that top four spot could be his. So I'm going to be looking forward to see if he can take that spot now that Justin Hall is gone.
Yeah, I think touching off of what Alex said, there's not many spots within the roster right now that are going to be competition when we're talking about training camp here.
Yeah,
I think this is the most set the Leafs have been in recent memory. That said, I do think that it's going to be about chemistry at this training camp. You want to go into the season, you want to start off hot, especially in this Atlantic Division. So you want to try and figure that out. And the three main pieces that they brought in are two of them are going to be main guys when you're talking about the offensive production. So I think finding where they fit in, finding where these, you can kind of get a regular rotation in your lines. That's what you're going to be looking for at training camp and see, what fits and what doesn't. Because remember, Keith lost two pretty significant players in terms of who he liked to go with in Justin Hall and Alex Kerfoot. And I think, that takes away from what he's done over the last couple of years, and now he's got a few more guys to kind of play around with and see what works. So I think that's going to be the interesting part in training camp. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, what comes of it. And man, October 11th is just around the corner, boys. This season's going to be quickly approaching, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch as we get closer to it. Before we move on, just a quick word from our sponsors over at the Hockey Podcast Network, DraftKings Sportsbook. We're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw 5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football is more fun when you're in on the action, so don't download the app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. With code THPN, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, LA. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility. Terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions do apply. So those listening on our streams, we would be throwing right now to our interview with Michael Tellqvist. So stay tuned for that on all of our streams when this episode comes out tomorrow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you download our show. But for us, boys, we're going to move on a little bit here. Nylander at center. Peter, there's you guys kind of touched on it already. So anything more you wanted to add to the idea of him playing center on the third line and maybe stacking that third line heading into the season?
I just have a PSA that I want to get out of the way right now. And this is for anybody who last year saw at any point William Nylander taking a rush on the third line and screamed about how Sheldon Keefe always punishes him and never anybody else. That you're making something up to get mad at. I just want to get it out there. There's a tweet today. David Alter tweeted about, a couple different people tweeted about it. You can go have a look, where Sheldon Keefe basically said, William Nylander, I trust in just about every situation. And I trust him to push himself more than anyone else. He's that good. So he plays on the third line. He's not playing on the third line because Matthews and Marner are free of criticism. So just want to get it out of the way. Willie playing on the third line is a testament to how much Keefe trusts him, and it has nothing to do with not trusting him. So that's my piece.
I think it also had to do with the fact that I can't remember where I saw it. I was scrolling through my feed, and I should have gotten the name, but I'm pretty sure you guys saw it too, where, maybe somebody thought that, Nylander moving the center was all because of Dubas wanted to have Nylander on the wing specifically. And now that Treliving kind of sees Nylander as a center, he probably wants to move him there to see what he can do and not necessarily up his value for the contract, but have more of an important role on a team. He was drafted as a center. He said that, Nylander has played center in the past. And, at this point, why not give him more of an opportunity to be a critical player up the middle? And yes, we all know how people criticize his defensive game, but now let's see what he's able to do, because he did get some looks on the PK last year. If he's able to add that into his game this year and play, a big factor up the middle of the ice, and not only that, I kind of think he has more free reign as well. He's able to lead the attack because if he's going to, break plays up and come back, be a factor, and then, break out in transition, I think that's going to be a big factor for the team. And Alex, you talked about the speed that both Domi and Yarncroke have. If they move the play up and Nylander's trailing, and we know how great of a shot he is, they find him trailing into the offensive zone and he's wide open. Boom. There's a Nylander bomb, clapper, whatever you want to call it at this point, because he can rip the puck big time. And I think that if he's able to try and round out his game, this could be a big benefit for the Maple Leafs. And everyone's going to say, well, why are you going to pay a potential $9-10 million as your 3C? And it's like, well, let's face the facts. John Tavares is probably not going to be an $11 million man in a year or two. Yeah, it's probably going to be bumped down. So now you're going to have to look at the fact that in 2 years' time, Nylander is going to be making what basically Tavares should be making at this point. And I think they're going to spread out the ice or the time on ice quite a bit, especially with that line with Nylander, because they want to give him more reps, more of that opportunity. And it's better that they're doing that now with training camp starting in the preseason than, let's say, at the deadline, like Keith did quite a bit with experimenting with his lines. If they're able to see what they have with him right now, even with the first few games in the season, then it's something that they could work with.
Yeah, I think you guys both nailed it. I don't have much more to add. I think it's just a testament to how deep this team can be if you put a guy like Nylander in the third line. I love that you touched on what Keith said, Alex. I think it just goes to show you that he's not punishing him in any way. He actually sees the potential that this guy has, and we've seen that under Keith that his point production has gone up over the last couple of seasons as well. So just that in itself is showing you just how capable this player is. And I think it's exciting to know that you potentially have 3 stand-up centers that can really add depth and scoring throughout your lineup, and that's something that the Leafs have lacked at times over the last few seasons. So I think that's something that they have to look at as well. Peter, you accidentally mentioned Muzzin a little bit earlier. I don't want to touch on this too much, but Muzzin is out for the year. He will not be participating in anything with the Maple Leafs in terms of on ice activities. Matt Murray was it's deemed that he will have some surgery. We're not sure what it's about. We're not sure what it's for, just that it's a re-aggravated injury. So anything you guys wanted to add to that? I think this is just kind of tying up loose ends in terms of like what this roster is going to look like come October.
I just want to give a shout out to Sens fans who were calling for the NHL to investigate the Murray thing.
I was just about to say that.
I just I don't have anything else to say. Just I hope you're enjoying that. I hope you're enjoying that. And I hope that you keep encouraging the FBI to raid the Leafs organization and figure out what's up with that. Because I'm pretty sure that Matt Murray right now is currently under the knife, undergoing surgery for a fake injury that the Leafs are only covering up so that Ottawa has to pay his salary.
That's right. Healthy guys go get surgery.
Makes no sense. But yeah, the conspiracy theories are already, circulating around the NHL with the Maple Leafs and cap circumvention or whatever. But, it's just unfortunate because, he did have that concussion against the Detroit Red Wings. Kind of seemed like he was able to go, but then all of a sudden there's more of a re-aggravation and a lot of unknowns in regards to Murray and what's affecting him right now. In regards to Muzzin, I think we all kind of saw this coming after what happened last season. And it's unfortunate for both because Muzzin is a good character guy. And before the injuries, he was that impactful, top 4 defenseman. Murray was looking like he gotten over his health issues, but then they came crawling back and, just wish nothing but the best for them and hope they recover very well.
Normally, guys, we go into a little bit more of an in-depth discussion of the divisions, and we might as we get closer to the season, but I want to just quickly touch on the Atlantic Division. Now, this is going to probably be one of the tougher divisions in hockey this season. As Jays fans, we're very used to being in the toughest division in the sport. But Peter, your thoughts on the Atlantic Division? Who takes a step back? Who kind of jumps into the mix when it comes to playoffs this season?
Obvious choice is the Boston Bruins. I think their only saving grace is that their defense and goaltending has been relatively stable. I mean, I think they just lost Dmitry Orlov in the offseason, but they still have, Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, Linus Ullmark, and Jeremy Swayman. Possibly the best duo in net of last season and this season coming into the NHL. But that forward depth, aside from Pastrnak and Marchand, not the best, especially now that Bergeron and Krejci are gone. You have possibly Pavel Zacha and, Charlie Coyle is your 1-2. That's a little bit dicey right there, concerning. But then again, the Boston Bruins have shocked us before. Are they going to have the season that they had last year? No, but I still expect them to take a step back. As for teams that could surprise, definitely the Buffalo Sabres. I think they're definitely gunning for a playoff spot, and they're a team that could possibly knock out the Boston Bruins and possibly get a wild card spot. Alex, I know you mentioned the Sens fans, but Ottawa does have some good pieces up front. Again, big question mark is Jacob Chikrin's health going to hold up? And is their goaltending situation going to balance itself out?
And is Jake Sanderson going to play like an $8 million defenseman this year?
And are they going to sign Shane Pinto?
I understand.
Shane Pinto, yes.
I do understand.
Yes.
Jake Sanderson he's got a lot of potential. And I know some Leaf fans are out there clowning that contract, but that's a deal you sign for the future, not for next year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But still
another
pretty steep price to pay pretty early on in his career, considering he's only played like, I don't know, I think it was like 50 or 60 games or something. I might look like a complete moron here. Let me just verify that.
I will say this, though. I would rather have Jake Sanderson at $8 million.
77 games. 77 games. So I was wrong. I'll own that.
I'd rather have Sanderson at $8 million than Mattias Samuelsson at $4.2 million over 7 years for that, like whatever, for 12 games in the NHL or 60 games in the NHL before anything else. I will say that, but I do agree. Sanderson, I don't know if he'll pop off big time, but he does have great, puck moving abilities, and he's a strong two-way presence. I think that, he will be an $8 million man at some point this season, maybe next. Kind of a bit rough, but again, for me, it's going to be their goaltending for the Senators. That'll be a big question mark heading in.
Alex, your thoughts on the Atlantic? Who takes a step back, and what one of these non-playoff teams from last year maybe jump into the mix?
I think that of all the non-playoff teams from last year, Buffalo is probably the closest to making the playoffs. I think that they showed some real promise at the end of last season, and assuming that what we saw from Tage Thompson last year wasn't a fluke, which I don't think it will be, because although he didn't score as much as he did last year, the year before, he was still almost a point per game player. So I think it's we're leaning closer to Tage Thompson is that good, and he's not just a flash in the pan. But yeah, if their young core repeats and they continue to develop, I think that they've got a really promising future ahead of them. It'd be nice to get a little battle of the QEW going that I thought we were going to get when Eichel was drafted the year before Matthews, but that obviously didn't happen. So I think Buffalo's the closest. And guys, I feel so stupid for bringing this up because I've done it so many times before, and I've made myself look like a fool every single time. This has to be the year that Boston takes a step back, right?
That's exactly my thought.
The reason that I say this now, and I know that a million times before we've been like, Boston, they're getting older. Their core players are leaving. We said it after Lucic left. We said it after Chara left. Every single time we think that the Bruins are done and they're finally going to regress. Someone breaks out and they end up going to the top again. So the reason that I think that might be different this year is for one reason only, and that's the fact that Patrice Bergeron's retired.
Yeah.
I think that if you're looking at a guy who embodied Bruins success and Bruins hockey for the past 15 years, Patrice Bergeron was the one constant on all those teams that we thought were going to regress and then ended up playing well. Patrice Bergeron, for as much as I dislike the Bruins, he is a guy that I would have taken 10 million times over on the Leafs throughout his career. And he's just that good of a player. And I think that now that he is out of the picture and he's not a voice in their dressing room anymore, I think their culture takes a little bit of a hit. I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying that they're going to have dressing room issues or that, they're not going to have chemistry anymore or anything like that. But when you lose a leader like Bergie, sometimes it can hit you a little harder than you might anticipate, not just from an on-ice standpoint. So Buffalo in, Boston out is my prediction, but who knows where we'll be by the time December, January rolls around.
The thing with Boston too is at least they Bergeron and Marchand have learned under Pasternak and Marchand. Geez, I'm all over the place today with names. Not my day. Pasternak and Marchand have learned under Bergeron and even Chara for the last 5+ seasons. So they know what it takes to win and what it takes to be a Boston Bruin. So I think that, Bergeron's leadership is gone, but they have other guys to replace him in that department. Again, it's more, I do agree with Alex that is a big hole to fill, but there are guys that can step up and be just as vocal.
Yeah, I think, I mean, as Alex said, it's the obvious choice to say Boston. I don't think Linus Ullmark repeats as a Vezina Trophy winner either. I think that was like an incredible run for him and takes nothing away from what he did. But this is the first time we've seen those types of numbers from Ullmark over his career. I think Buffalo too. When you look at Buffalo, you're going to get a full year out of Alex Tuck. Owen Powers there. The biggest thing for them is going to be goaltending. If they can get some solid goaltending, there's no reason why they can't make a push. And I think Ottawa's right there as well. I think Detroit's still a step away. Florida's going to be an interesting story because Bobrovsky usually has an on year and then an off year. So this would be considered an off year. And with Spencer Knight coming out with his OCD, I'm not sure how that's going to affect him. So they could be an interesting story, but they've got Matthew Tkachuk there, and he's one of, you have to put him down as elite. So it's going to be an interesting division this year. It's going to be one of the toughest divisions. Guys, before we close it out here, last thing, I don't want to give too much airtime to this because I think this guy's a scumbag. But your reactions to Mike Babcock and what's on your camera roll.
So are we doing the camera roll first, or
show your pictures?
which picture do you want to see?
I want to see the last picture on your camera roll.
The last, are we looking for screenshots or live pictures or what? Because I just have a lot of hockey Twitter screenshots right now.
There's mine, guys. My son built a ladder today.
All right.
Mine is this because one of my buddies got me watching into One Piece, the animated, not the live action yet. So that is my last picture saved of a very cringe photo from what the character saw with another character.
There you go.
And that is what we're going to go with here.
Beautiful.
Aww. My little dog, Ella.
Nice.
Or my parents' dog. She missing like half her teeth, so her tongue always hangs out of her mouth like that. It's pretty cute. Anyways, yeah, I'm honestly, boys, I know it's been a while since we last did a pod, all three of us. A couple, 2-3 weeks, maybe. Was it 2 weeks ago? I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, the toughest.
Okay, so I'm actually really glad that we didn't discuss this while the investigation was going on, because then we would have had to be like, oh, we're we don't know for sure if this happened yet, but if it did, then it's really bad, and if it didn't, then it's a messy situation. I'm glad that we're now talking about this, that the whole thing's wrapped up, and it's just hilarious, and it's not hilarious. It's just hilarious in the sense that
we saw it coming.
Like who thought this was going to end well? You know the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. If you've got a whole collection of NHL players talking about how Mike Babcock is a scumbag and how he's did all this weird sociopathic shit, like making Marner make that list of the hardest working players and benching Jason Spezza at the Leafs home opener in front of all his family and friends when they played against Ottawa.
Did the same thing to Modano.
Mike Modano, yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, but
no, I knew you were going to say that, so I wanted to let you get it in. Benching him before his 1000th career game. He's treated Johan Franzen like shit. Obviously, we know Mike Commodore's stance on it. This guy is not. This is not just a case of one player had an issue with him and is spreading a bunch of stuff. It's pretty well documented that Mike Babcock's got some issues.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you bring him back into the league? I don't know. I don't really want to dwell on this too much more, man. It's just I can't believe that whole thing happened, but I can, because it's the old boys club and they'll always get their second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chances before anybody else does. But oh my God, just what an unbelievable mishandling of a situation by the Jackets. That's brutal.
Peter, you want to get a quick 2 cents in there before we close it out?
Yeah. In what world is it okay to say, hey, let me see your photos just to get to know a player better? Whatever happened to going out and having a team dinner with the leaders, or, having a face-to-face conversation and not look at the personal lives or invade someone's privacy, because that's basically what this is. Now, whether Boone Jenner and Johnny Gaudreau felt okay with it, fine, but there are other people that don't. And I have to draw the line where it's okay, this is unacceptable. And it really is just really, really weird to do. And the guys from the Steve Dangle podcast said it best. When they were hiring Mike Babcock, they talked to Ken Hitchcock and all these other people saying that, oh, great guy. But then Steve added on, what you failed to do is talk to the players that Mike Babcock had affected in the past, which is Badano, Spezza, Marner, Franzen. Those are the guys that played under him and would know firsthand what he does. And the fact that they just went with people that knew Babcock behind the bench as opposed to the actual players, they didn't take their feelings or their consideration into account. And that is concerning.
All I'm going to say is he also sat Chelios after 2 shifts in the Winter Classic in Chicago, his home city as well.
Sorry, Forbes, I don't want to cut you off, but I totally forgot about something that I was going to bring up when I was in the middle of my little tangent there. Can we just talk about the fact that he invited a young Blue Jackets player to his apartment for lunch, went through his phone, and then sent him home without lunch?
I saw that. Yeah.
Like that is sorry. That is insane, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think
that's the stuff that makes me think this guy's a legitimate sociopath. Like, how do you do that and not see anything wrong with it? I can't believe he didn't even give him a fucking sandwich or something. He just sent him home.
A prepackaged PB&J or something
Literally.
like that. Yeah. Uncrustables.
Okay. Anyways.
Uncrustables.
I'm sorry, Andrew. Go.
No. It's honestly, guys, I don't want to say much. I'm gonna close it out here after, but I just I think, when you're walking on a thin line and you go in there and you do what, like you said, some sociopathic shit, like you have to be so fucked up to just create this awkwardness. And like some people said, like he's just an awkward human being, but like that's not awkward. That's just it's idiocracy. It's invasive. It's stupidity. It's invasive. It's, man, you're a coach. You're not like, there's nobody in a position of authority that should take those steps the way that he did. And especially with the way that the younger generation is now, like you have to step so carefully sometimes. And he treated it like it was, I don't know, like the 1980s, like show me everything that you got and we'll have a fuck you match. And that's not the way it is anymore. So he didn't grow with the times. And I think this is the final straw. And I think this is maybe the straw that breaks the camel's back when you're talking about the old boys club. And if you don't develop, if you don't change your ways, this is the way it goes. So
it was the younger player that had that incident with him where he saw the phone and then just said, yeah, go.
Yeah.
And again, it was all those younger players that took issue with it. And the vets maybe said, yeah, I had no issue with it. But you got to think of these younger players because they're the ones coming into this. And again, whatever happened to just asking questions? Oh, what's your favorite TV show? What do you do in your off time? Whatever happened to, again, that basic conversation.
Why can't the guy just be normal?
Yeah.
Like, that's really what this comes down to. Why can't he be a normal human?
That's what normal people do. They ask questions instead of saying, oh, hey, let me see your phone. I want to see what pictures you got on there. And
I want to see what kind of man you are. Like what?
Come on. Like, it's just so dumb. Like, I don't understand it. That was his first instinct when he became a head coach to try and get to know his players. Yeah.
Well, the right guy is in the place that he should be now in Columbus, hopefully, and we'll see where that goes. But boys, we're looking forward to season 4. We've got some exciting things coming with the Hockey Podcast Network. Exciting stuff coming with Sticks in the Six. And as always, big shout out to you guys. Big shout out to our listeners for continuing to tune in. Follow us at any of our socials down at the bottom there. Make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube. We want to hit that century mark before the puck drops on this season. Otherwise, you can follow all of us on Twitter at Andrew G. Forbes, at P. Barricchini, and at A. Hobson Media for more hockey takes throughout the season. It's going to be a fun ride, boys. It's going to be a fun season. Otherwise, tune in next week. That's it for us here on episode 136 of the podcast.